Welcome to the video lecture on transmission line and RF systems. Let's discuss about Unit 2, High Frequency Transmission Lines. So this unit also has two modules. So let's see about the module 1. I am Dr. K. Padmapriya, Assistant Professor ECE, Government College of Engineering, Bodi Nayakanur. Transmission lines equations at radio frequencies. There are two main forms of lines at high frequencies, namely open wire line and coaxial line. At radio frequencies, G may be considered to be 0 and skin effect will be considerable, and due to skin effect the L may be much higher than the R. Coaxial cable is used as a transmission line for radio frequency signals in applications such as connecting radio transmitters and receivers with their antennas, computer network connections, and distributing cable television signals. One advantage of coaxial cable over other types of transmission line is that in an ideal coaxial cable, the electromagnetic field carrying the signal exists only in the space between the inner and outer conductor. This allows the coaxial cable run to be installed next to the metal objects such as gutters without the power losses that occur in other transmission lines, and provides protection of the signal from external electromagnetic interference. Coaxial cable differs from other shielded cable used for carrying lower frequency signals such as audio signals in that the dimensions of the cable are controlled to produce a repeatable, predictable conductor spacing needed to function efficiently as a radio frequency transmission line. In the diagram shows the cutaway for coaxial cable. The outer plastic jacket which covers the inner conductors. So the two copper conductors, there is the inner center core and the metallic shield outside that. So these are the two conductors, and in between these two conductors we have a dielectric material that will act as an insulator. So this is a general construction or parts present within a coaxial cable. Like any electrical power card, the coaxial cable conducts AC electric current between the locations. Like these other cables, it has two conductors, the central wire and the tubular sheet. At any moment, the current is traveling outward from the source in one of the conductors and returning in the other. Since it's an alternating current, the current reverses direction many times a second. Coaxial cable differs from the other cable because it is designed to carry radio frequency current. This has a frequency much higher than 50 or 60 Hz used in mains, that is electrical power cables, reversing directions a million to billion times per second. Like other types of radio transmission line, this requires special construction to prevent power losses. If an ordinary wire is to carry the higher frequency currents, the wire will act as an antenna. But in high frequency currents, it will radiate off the wire as the radio waves causing power losses. So to prevent this, in a coaxial cable, one of the conductors is formed into a tube and encloses the other conductor. So this confines the radio waves from the center conductor to the space inside the tube itself. To prevent the outer conductor or shield from radiating, it is connected to the electrical ground, so keeping it at a constant potential. The dimensions and spacing of the conductors must be uniform. Any abrupt change in the spacing of the two conductors along the cable, it tends to reflect the radio frequency power back towards the source, which will cause a condition called standing waves. This acts as a bottleneck, reducing the amount of power reaching the destination end of the cable. So to hold the shield at a uniform distance from the central conductor, the space between the two is filled with a semi-rigid plastic, mostly a dielectric. Manufacturers specify a minimum bend radius to prevent the kinks. So kinks are the outbreaks, that is the sudden spikes which arise that will be in the waveform, so that would cause reflections. So the connectors used with the coax are designed to hold the correct spacing through the body of connector. Each type of coaxial cable has a characteristic impedance depending on its dimensions and materials used, so which is the ratio of the voltage to the current in the cable. In order to prevent reflections at the destination end of the cable from causing the standing waves, any equipment the cable is attached to must present an impedance equal to the characteristic impedance called matching. Thus, the equipment appears electrically similar to a continuation of the cable, preventing reflections. Common values of characteristic impedance for the coaxial cable are 50 and 75 ohms. The coaxial cable design choices affects the physical size, frequency performance, attenuation, power handling capabilities, flexibility, strength and cost. The inner conductor might be solid or stranded. Stranded is more flexible. To get better high frequency performance, the inner conductor may be silver plated. Sometimes copper plated iron wire is also used as an inner conductor. The insulator surrounding the inner conductor may be solid plastic, a foam plastic, or maybe air with spaces supporting the inner wire. The properties of dielectric control some electrical properties of the cable. A common choice is a solid polyethylene insulator used in lower loss cables. Solid Teflon is also used as an insulator. Some coaxial lines use air or any other gases also have spaces to keep the inner conductor from touching the shield. So many conventional coaxial cables uses braided copper wire forming the shield. This allows the cable to be flexible, but it also means there are gaps in the shield layer. And the inner dimension of the shield varies slightly because the braid cannot be flat. Sometimes the braid is silver plated. For better shield performance, some cables have a double layer shield. The shield must be just two braids, but it is more common now to have a thin foil shield covered by a wire braid. Some cables may invest in more than two shield layers, such as quad shield, which uses four alternating layers of foil and braid. Other shield designs sacrifice flexibility for better performance. Some shields are a solid metal tube. Those cables cannot take sharp bends as the shield will kink, causing losses in the cable. So for high power RF transmission up to 1 gigahertz, the coaxial cable with the solid copper outer conductor is available in sizes of 0.25 inch upwards. The outer conductor is ribbed like a bellows to permit flexibility, and the inner conductor is held in a position by a plastic spiral to approximate an air dielectric. Coaxial cables require an internal structure of the insulating material to maintain the spacing between the center conductor and the sheet. The dielectric losses increase in this order. So ideal dielectric means we won't have any loss. So vacuum, air, polytetrafluoroethylene, polyethylene foam and solid polyethylene are also used. A low relative permittivity allows for high frequency usage. So an inhomogeneous dielectric needs to be compensated by a non-circular conductor to avoid current hotspots. Most cables have a solid dielectric other than a foam dielectric, which contains as much as air as possible to reduce the losses. The foam coaxial cable will have about 15% less attenuation but can absorb moisture, especially at its many surfaces like in humid environments, etc., which will also increase the loss. The stars or spokes are even better but more expensive. Still more expensive were the air-spaced coaxials used for some intercity communications in the middle of 20th century. The center conductor was suspended by polyethylene discs every few centimeters. In a miniature coaxial cable such as an RG62 type, the inner conductor is supported by a spiral strand of polyethylene so that an air space exists between most of the conductor and the inside of the jacket. The lower dielectric constant of air allows for a greater inner diameter at the same impedance and a greater outer diameter at the same cutoff frequency, lowering ohmic losses. Inner conductors are sometimes silver plated to smooth the surface and reduce losses due to skin effects. A rough surface prolongs the path for the current and concentrates the current at peaks and thus increases the ohmic losses. The insulating jacket can be made from many materials. A common choice is PVC, but some applications may require fire resistant materials too. Outdoor applications may require the jacket to resist ultraviolet rays and oxidation. For internal chassis connections, the insulating jacket may be omitted. The ends of the coaxial cables are usually made with RF connectors. The open wire transmission lines have the property that the electromagnetic wave propagating downwards the line extends into space surrounding the parallel wires. These lines have low loss but have undesirable characteristics. They cannot be bent, twisted, or other shaped without changing their characteristic impedance, causing reflection of the signal back towards the source. They also cannot be run along or attached to anything conductive, as the extended fields will induce current in the nearby conductors, causing unwanted radiation and detuning of the line. Coaxial lines solve this problem by confining the electromagnetic wave to the inside the cable between the center conductor and the shield. The transmission of energy in the line occurs totally through the dielectric inside the cable between the conductors. Coaxial lines can therefore be bent and moderately twisted without negative effects, and they can be strapped to conductive supports without inducing unwanted currents in them. In radio frequency applications up to a few gigahertz, the wave propagates primarily in the transverse electromagnetic mode, which means that the electric and magnetic fields are both perpendicular to the direction of propagation. However, above a certain cutoff frequency, the transverse electric or transverse magnetic modes can also propagate as they do in a waveguide. It is usually undesirable to transmit signals above the cutoff frequency, since it may cause multiple modes with different phase velocities to propagate, interfering with each other. The outer diameter is roughly inversely proportional to the cutoff frequency. A propagating surface wave mode that does not involve or require the outer shield but only a single center conductor also exists in a coax, but this mode is effectively suppressed in coax of conventional geometry and common impedance. The electrical field lines for this TM mode have a longitudinal component and require line lengths of half wavelength or longer. A coaxial connector, which is shown in the diagram, is a male N type, and they are designed to maintain a coaxial form across the connection and have the same well-defined impedance as the attached cable. The connectors are often plated with high conductivity metals such as silver or gold. Due to the skin effect, the RF signal is only carried by the plating and does not penetrate to the connector body. Although silver oxidizes quickly, the silver oxide that is produced is still conductive. While this may pose a cosmetic issue, it does not degrade performance. Line of zero dissipation, voltage and current on the dissipationless line. Fundamental electrical parameters. First one is shunt capacitance, units farads per meter. So C is given by 2 pi epsilon by ln d by d. So epsilon is equal to epsilon naught into epsilon r is substituted there. And series conductance, units is henries per meter. L equals mu by 2 pi ln d by d, where mu is equal to mu naught into mu r. So that's substituted. The series resistance, unit ohms per meter. It's just the resistance of the inner conductor and the shield at low frequencies. So at higher frequencies, the skin effect increases the effective resistance by confining the conduction to a thin layer of each conductor. The shunt conductance is the fourth element. Units is Siemens per meter. The shunt conductance is usually very small because insulators with good dielectric properties are used, and at high frequencies a dielectric can have a significant resistive loss. Let's see about the derived electrical parameters. First one is the characteristic impedance, units ohms. Neglecting the resistance per unit length for most coaxial cables, the characteristic impedance is determined from the capacitance and the inductance. Those parameters are determined from the ratio of the inner diameter d and the outer diameter capital D and the dielectric constant epsilon. Characteristic impedance is given by Z0 is equal to 1 by 2 pi square root of mu by epsilon ln d by d, which is approximately equated to 138 ohms divided by square root of epsilon r log to the base 10 capital D by small d, that is the outer diameter divided by the inner diameter. Assuming the dielectric properties of the material inside the cable do not vary appreciably over the operating range of the cable, this impedance is frequency independent, about 5 times the shield cutoff frequency. For typical coaxial cables, the shield cutoff frequency is 600 Hz RG6A to 2000 Hz for RG5HC cable. Next is attenuation loss, units decibels per meter. This is dependent on the loss in the dielectric material filling the cable and resistive losses in the center conductor and outer shield. These losses are frequency dependent, and the losses becomes higher as the frequency increases. Skin effect losses in the conductors can be reduced by increasing the diameter of the cable. A cable with twice the diameter will have half the skin effect resistance. Ignoring the dielectric and other losses, the larger cable would have the dB per meter loss. In designing a system, engineers consider not only the loss in the cable but also the loss in the connectors. The third parameter is velocity of propagation. So, meters per second is the unit. It depends on the dielectric constant and permeability. Mostly it's equal to 1. So, V is equal to 1 by epsilon into mu, 1 by square root of epsilon into mu, which is equal to C by square root of epsilon r into mu r. Cutoff frequency is determined by the possibility of exciting other propagation modes in the coaxial cable. The average circumference of the insulator is pi into capital D plus small d divided by 2. The length is equal to 1 wavelength in the dielectric. The T01 cutoff frequency is therefore Fc equals 1 divided by pi into d plus small d by 2 into square root of mu epsilon, which is equal to C by pi into capital D plus d by 2 square root of mu r epsilon r. Standing waves, nodes and standing wave ratio. If the transmission is not terminated in its characteristic impedance, then there will be two waves traveling along the line, which gives rise to standing waves, which will be the forward traveling wave and the reflected wave, which will have a fixed maxima and a fixed minima. The ratio of the maximum to minimum magnitudes of current or voltage on a line having a standing wave is called the standing wave ratio. So, S equals Amax by Emin or Imax by Imin. Your Emax and Imax are equal and Emin equal to Imin. So, for coaxial lines, it is necessary to use a length of line in which longitudinal slot 1/2 wavelength or more than that has been cut. A wire probe is inserted into the air dielectric of the line as a pickup device, a vacuum tube voltmeter or other detector being connected between the probe and the sheath as an indicator. If the meter provides linear indications, S is really readily determined. If the indicator is non-linear, then corrections must be applied to the readings. So, the relation between the standing wave ratio S and the reflection coefficient K is S equals 1 plus K divided by 1 minus K. The nodes and antinodes. At any point on the transmission line, voltage or current value is 0, then they are called the nodes. And at any point on the line, voltage or current value is maximum, then those points are called the antinodes. Thank you.